Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And over the years, I've reviewed plenty of different kinds of movies. Horror, of course, but also low-budget asylum-grade flicks and Japanese monster movies. So, let's take a look at a low-budget Japanese monster movie that's asylum-grade. The horror. Reigo, King of the Sea Monsters. Or at least that's what it's called now, to capitalize on Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Back when it was made, though, it was capitalizing off being directed by Shinpei Hayashiya. You know, the creator of the holy grail of kaiju flicks, Gamera 4, The Truth. Naturally, it's a movie about a giant damn monster from the deep sea, as it does battle with a massive Japanese battleship during World War II. And as with any kaiju flick, the real star are the humans, as we learn the intricacies of their relationships with one another, and how this great disaster at hand is pushing them all to the brink. But maybe, just maybe, if they hold true to who they are, they can win! I mean, usually that's how it goes, but we're watching Reigo. So instead, while there are human characters, and some of them do have relationships with one another to worry about, it really doesn't have much to do with anything. The real story is strictly how Reigo is really damn big and keeps killing everyone. Which sounds like a lot of fun, but stretched out over 80 minutes? Well, let's take a look at Reigo, King of the Sea Monsters, and see just how well that pulls it off. We open up to a bit of backstory. Seems Japan always dreamed of making a really fucking big battleship. Then there was this whole World War thing, and treaties were signed, but don't worry. Come 1936, those treaties expired, and Japan finally had its artillery-bedecked Titanic in 1941, the battleship Yamato. And don't worry, there is an enormous sea monster in this movie. But first, we have to establish the human characters to worry about. Starting off strong, we have Midori worrying about the fate of her husband, Osaka, played by Yuriko Hotaru. You know, Inspector Osako from the Heisei Gamera trilogy. He's got to go to war with a baby on the way, but don't worry, he knows just what to pray for in these trying times.
赤ん坊がチンチンを忘れんこと。
まだ言っとる。
おお、何遍でも言うぞ。神さん、どうか赤ん坊がチンチンを忘れんように。
Well, if that's really what you want, maybe you should try praying at the penis shrine. You might have better luck there. We take a break from the older couple to meet a younger couple, a couple of friends. Takashi Kaido and Chie Kojima, played by Taiyu Sugoria and Miyavi Matsuoni, respectively. They're not really in any kind of romantic relationship, but they've been friends since they were children, and Takashi here is going to be deployed to the Yamato too, so... We can tell he really does love Kojima, just like Mario and Princess Peach. Kaido also takes the time to enjoy his grandmother's cooking before being shipped out. It's here he learns that she already knows about the signal flags. She was taught how to do them from his grandfather. What do they do exactly? Well, for one thing, they change the movie from black and white to full color, and they head out. The battleship Yamato is heading to the South Seas, so Osaka has the opportunity to smuggle on board his side chick, Momoka, played by Yumika Hayashi. And he also gets to meet her grandfather, played by Mickey Curtis. That's mainly because we set sail a bit too fast and didn't even establish the legend of the monster that terrorizes these waters yet. Don't worry, Gramps here fills in the gaps. They can't fish at night anymore because of the enormous monster that has returned again!
Reigo. Reigo?
Is that what you get when you mix Ragu and Prego? But first, there's those big fish that attack humans, but not sharks. They're called bonefish, and they arrive shortly before Reigo, who is not a bonefish, but a motherfucking dragon! And no bother, Osaka says his fleet can best any legends of dragons the sea throws at them. The important news is they're going to rendezvous with a convoy and escort them through these hostile seas. Are we looking at the same fleet here? I mean, texture quality, shadow quality, poly count, frame rate. I'm pretty sure this could be rendered in real time on an original Xbox. However, that evening, they spy a massive fin of some mysterious beast breaking the surface of the ocean.
長官、敵艦はスケート級と思われます。しかし、前回のこともあります。
Oh yeah, those dastardly submarines always going with a comically oversized shark fin just to fuck with you. With that in mind, they blew it the fuck up!
何かの声のようにも聞こえたが、
それもそうだが水柱の色も変だったぞ。
クジラっていうこともあり得るな。
Maybe it was related to the legendary gorilla whale, who knows? But what's this? That was just Reigo's child that the battleship Yamato blew away. So, keep this in mind. It's not Bonefish to Reigo. It's Reigo's child to Bonefish to Reigo. Take notes, it's gonna be on the test later. Yeah, whatever they blew up, they blew it the fuck up, which calls for a celebration. Oh, Jesus Christ, even with my movies I suffer the worst seat in the house. Why would you stick the camera directly behind someone's head? However, the legend of the dragon, heralded by the appearance of ultra-violent Bonefish, does persist. Several of the older members of the crew have heard it, which gets them thinking. Hey man, at least finish watching the movie before you review it. After a long night of celebrating blowing something up, Osaka stumbles drunkenly on deck and discovers a man adrift at sea. Bringing him aboard, we find out that this man is Norman Melville, an American, so they bring Kaido over as he knows some English.
Hey, are you okay?
That's alright. 大丈夫です。
Huh?
And possibly more than Melville here, because it's pretty clear the film crew just found a native Japanese man with possibly some European ancestry in his bloodline who makes absolutely no attempts to hide that thick Japanese accent. But we got the important parts out of the way. The crew found a spare American Navy dude in the water, his ship sank for unspecified reasons, and we could just throw him in the brig until he is plot relevant, which may be sooner rather than later, as that night, the crew spies something strange in the sea. Bonefish! Which look a lot less like bones than I was anticipating. And fish, come to think of it. And who would happen to stumble upon the pile of meaty chunks that used to be the crew than our young protagonist Kaido, who can hardly believe what he has found. Well, I'm pretty sure we won't be getting the security deposit back. So many lives lost to the mysterious Bonefish, and the sighting of the legendary dragon. This means they need to fish up that handy-dandy American for answers.
I'd like to have dinner with Captain. あなた抜きで。
やかましやこの風景もんが。
It's joke.
Okay, first I gotta ask, what part of America is he supposed to come from? Hokkaido? Osaka conducts the interview. Poorly. Rather than just asking him what happened, he tells the prisoner about that little bonefish and dragon problem and then asks, was that it? Was it the bonefish and the dragon? After he says, yeah, that's it, ate all my friends, Osaka rushes to the room of important people and tells them, hey, it's the bonefish and dragon problem again. Just like that old guy told me earlier in the movie. Whole damn legend about bonefish and dragons around here. A dragon called Reigo.
Reigo. Reigo ka.
All I'm gonna say is you're lucky as hell there aren't any mirrors around here. This movie would end a hell of a lot sooner. Seeing as they're dealing with a monster scores of meters long, they decide to hold a meeting to hear everyone's ideas of how to deal with it. Unfortunately, though, this is a part of the movie that plays out as realistically as possible, as having no structure to the meeting means they get absolutely nothing done, with everyone just shouting at each other trying to figure out which stupid idea is the best.
いろいろに意見を出し合いましょう。それでなければ艦長の意には添えません。自分の意見も聞いていただきて。貴様は黙ってろ!
Though, honestly, this has to be the most productive meeting I have ever witnessed. But it still failed to produce any kind of plan for dealing with the dragon thing, meaning this scene pretty much amounted to nothing, and we move on as if it never happened.
私も島民から話を聞いたのだが、伝説の竜の話はまんざらでもないようでね。
Wait, you know about the bonefish and dragon too? So everyone's just heard about the bonefish and dragon? Why does everyone just know about this bonefish and dragon? Well, I guess it is kind of hard to miss. Well, then it's just your fault for not preparing. But who needs to prepare when you're in the motherfucking battleship Yamato? They got cannons, they got depth chargers, and they got like 10 battleships to fight the monster with. Still 9 battleships. Thus, a battle ensues. Reigo is attacking the ships, and Yamato can do nothing to stop it. The cannons on it are impressive, but they say they can't shoot something that close, so not all that much I can do about it.
竜は何の目的で艦隊を襲ってくるのか我々には分からずにいた。
Oh, it's because of the killing their child thing earlier. I mean, I know it's kind of easy to miss. It just happened once. It's not part of the legend, but, there it is. Well, they lost several ships, and the monster still lives. So the Admiral gets a telegram, and his reaction. Probably looked more dramatic in his head. The telegram probably had something to do with him being shit-canned from command and replaced with a younger, hotter Captain Matsuda. How can he help?
海洋生物の研究をしてまいりました。
He just so happens to be a marine biologist. Comes in handy in a lot more fields than you might think. He surmises that this dragon, Reigo, is a deep-sea creature. Could have fooled me, what with all the surfacing. But the bright light of the sun keeps it away, and it's attracted to light. Something, anglerfish. The point is, they can use this to their advantage.
生物の性格はそう変わるものではないだろう。
We just have to wait for Reigo to go home, drink beer, and play Xbox, and then we strike! But all this news of new strategies and new commanders does little to change things up so far. That scene where the monster attacks, kills a bunch of them, and leaves, it's that. Again.
こんなに近づかれては手も足も出ないじゃないか。奴が少しでも飛び上がってくれれば。
After all, it's finished sticking like 70 feet up in the air, taking up the whole goddamn port. How the hell are we supposed to hit that? I mean, I've played Call of Duty. You can't fucking hip fire that accurately. This calls for a new strategy. Wouldn't you know it, Kaido here just so happens to be a former student of the new captain, Professor Matsuda. During his tenure, Kaido also wrote a handy-dandy thesis on controlled manipulation of buoyancy just in case a gigantic-ass Navy vessel would ever happen to want to fire its big guns at or below the horizon line. But the paper wasn't without its critics.
主砲内部のギアが少しでもかけてみろ。ヤマトは死んだも同然だ。そがんこつは 砲術家の新米でも知っとうぞ。
True, but option B is still being horrifyingly murdered by a giant-ass sea monster. So they laugh at Kaido's ridiculous thesis, much like what happened when he wrote it in the first place. Oh, well, it's not all bad. I mean, sure, they are being killed off in record time with no hope of success whatsoever, but the mail is still running, and Kaido got a letter from Chie.
毎日学校に通ってたけしさんのお嫁さんになれるよう頑張っています。
And the puppy love just got cranked up to 11 real fast. Love is in the air and has written evidence. Chie loves Kaido and can't wait for this war to end so that they may be together again and live a happy, loving life in peace.
なんだと?
Oh, right, there's still a giant monster to deal with. Reigo is back, and this time he's doing SeaWorld trick shows for the terrified soldiers. Thus, the plan is to just shoot the son of a bitch until they actually manage to hit it. Though there is a slight issue with the gunners of the Yamato. All that flying around and working as a lightning rod for that thunderstorm that just hasn't let up for some reason, well, it has taken its toll, and they are down a man, making things much harder. Ah, fuck it. As long as we're probably gonna die anyway, it may as well be by employing Kaido's ridiculous plan. Gives us something to yell at him about while the ship sinks below the waves.
敵はレイゴーだ。
Just in case you forgot, still fighting Reigo. So the plan is to flood half the ship and tilt the guns so that they may be able to shoot Reigo. But that kinda involves shooting Reigo, and let's forget the gunnery is down a man. Or is it?
No! I'm so scared! No!
Well, at least it's more convincing than the American kid in Gamera vs. Jagger, whose vocabulary consisted mostly of, okay. Thus, the final battle is underway. The battleships engage Reigo with depth charges, driving the beast to the surface, but not without facing the monster's wrath. was wondering who that PS2 NPC model was supposed to be. Well, it's time for Kaido's plan. They flood one side of the Yamato, allowing the heavy cannons to aim down into the ocean. Which should work quite well at stopping the projectiles dead in their tracks, but that's not the problem here. The problem is that the gunners seem kind of inept all of a sudden, unable to hit this massive target, even missing at point-blank range and suffering a blow. However, the fight isn't over yet, and Reigo is coming back for seconds. Thus, with but one chance to take the beast out... They blew it away! From the other side that was tilting upward thanks to Kaido's plan, making it even harder to pull off, or... I mean, at best, that whole sink half the ship was completely pointless. Fun. Therefore, happy ending! Reigo is dead, and at least most of the ships under the protection of the Yamato are still floating. Every important character is still alive, happy, and ready to return to a life of peace and happiness. Except, of course, there's that slight problem of World War II going on at the moment.
日本海軍の動きは逐一つかまれていたのである。米軍は大和攻撃に117機で迎え撃ち。
And, this little, epilogue? So, twist ending! Nobody is safe! In fact, every last one of the characters you know and love are brutally killed by those damn Americans. And, there's a kabuki guy? Okay, level with me here. I'm not nearly versed enough in Japanese culture to even have the slightest idea what in the fuck is going on here. I mean, unless they up the victory celebration from sake to waratake. So, tragic ending! They all die horribly. That is, except for those who stayed behind. Chie, her heart broken, all alone, and Osaka's wife, who did in fact birth him a son. The end. I mean, most of them really didn't get what they want, but at least he did get that penis. So, that was Reigo, king of the sea monsters. Could have been better. I could spend all day chastising the special effects on display, as they were pretty damn crap, but that's not really the big problem I have with this movie. At about 8 minutes long, it's not a particularly lengthy movie, but with so few locations and almost nothing happening to really progress the plot for most of the running time, it drags on, and on, and on. This strangely makes the ending probably my favorite part of the movie. No, I don't understand it whatso-fucking-ever, but it at least has something besides the people just standing around in the boat talking about how there's this big monster and it's a problem, but they don't know what to do about it for over an hour. So I guess the heart of the problem I have with this movie is the pacing. Thinking about all of what took place, there was plenty to fill out 80 minutes and keep it engaging. It just didn't. The legend of the dragon and the bonefish just kind of came up as a formality, and the Yamato taking out Reigo's child was over and done with before we even realized that was what was going on. Alternatively, we could have had the legend come up a bit more naturally as everyone gets ready to set sail, and actually had a little back and forth with Reigo's child and the Yamato over the course of several days. That way we wouldn't have to just stop dead and spend so long talking about how you could blast a tiny Reigo out of the water from 300 yards, but just can't seem to even see the big one coming. Also, there were opportunities to get far more out of the characters who were there, but it really didn't happen. The American got sent to the brig and only came up again when he was forced back into the plot. Osaka's side chick? Don't ask me, she just disappeared after she was introduced, and I never saw her nor her grandfather ever again. Maybe they got chucked overboard, I don't know. There are things to enjoy, though. As a giant monster, Reigo is an interesting design, very aquatic and lightning powers, and they're the bonefish minions for at least the first 20 minutes of the movie, and the idea of going up against a naval fleet is pretty good. Several characters were at least entertaining to follow, and I never got tired of shit blowing up. However, I did get tired of waiting for shit to blow up, and itching to hit that fast forward button in between yawns, so Reigo comes in at 2 marine biologists out of 5. Definitely only for fans of low-budget kaiju flicks, as the uninitiated will probably not enjoy it. At all. In fact, it might keep them away from the genre at large. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, try not to dramatically stab your fruit with a spoon if you're being filmed at the time. More likely than not, some asshole on the internet is going to mock you for it one day.
Chin chin!